Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my podcast. My name is Tapiwa Mafura, and I've got a special guest today, a teammate of mine, Ryno Smith. Welcome, Ryno.
Cheers. Thanks, baby.
Today we're going to be talking about everything rugby and the life outside of rugby, and just getting to know a little bit more about you and getting into depth about how you got to where you are right now. And getting right into it, I just want to get into your rugby journey. Can you start by telling the viewers and the listeners how your rugby career started and how you find yourself where you are right now?
Okay, I'll try to congest the old 27-year journey into like 2 minutes. I grew up in a very sport like crazed family. Although they don't play sport, they love watching sport, love supporting sport. My dad watches anything, and so I always grew up watching rugby. You have your idols. Early on in my life, I heard names like Andre Hubert, obviously the fullback from the Springboks in the 95 World Cup. Later, a guy like Brayton Paulse, and then even later, a guy like Gio Aplon, who now hopefully this year will be able to play against. So that's cool. But anyways, so then I went to school, never the best player in my team, always kind of middle of the pack. And then I went to a big rugby school in Paul Boys High. And got the shock of my life when I arrived there and played under 14D, bro. Yeah. It's you know how that's D like team you are. Team, yeah. You're so D team, you didn't even get 1 minute for the C. You know, it was like that. It was bad. And I just remember my dad sitting me at the table one night. I was Depro coming back from training, and he just said, "Look, if you want to make it, like, it's up to you." Some people's story is they go on to play the Springboks. Others' story is that they end up playing first team at Boys High, and that's as high as they go. Yeah. But I determined my roof or my ceiling, and I just told him, look, I'm going to do whatever it takes to play for Boys High's first team. So initially that was my goal. I played under 15 second team, and then under 16A, and then third team in my grade 11 year, and then eventually first team in my final. So that's how it went. At the end of my matric year, didn't have too many offers, or any offers to be fair. I just had a bursary at Northwest University, and man, truly I feel like that was God's plan. And I just got there, and every level that I needed to, I kind of upped. And I could compete at that level, and then the next level came and I could compete at that level. So it was never that I was better than my peers or anything like that. I just think I was fortunate that I was at the pick at the right time. Played with guys like Akker, Van der Merwe, Sylvie and Mahuza, and later Johan Duisel and those guys. So I just think I was fortunate to be there at the right time. And luckily none of those brilliant players were in my position, man. So I could survive week in, week out, play rugby, and that's how you get good, I think. So post school, played Leopards junior rugby. When I was 21, I wasn't in Varsity Cup squad, went and played sevens. The Leopards ended up winning national sevens, and Coach Rob saw me on TV, and then he called me up into the squad. Sat on the bench. 2014, 2015, I was player of the year. 2016, we won it. 3 finals. That was awesome.
That's amazing.
And in the middle of 2016, I went to the Sharks, got my Super Rugby debut. And it was tumultuous times at the Sharks. I played under good rugby players, needs to be said. When I got there, Pat Lambie was there, Willie Leroux was there, later a guy like Kerwin Bosch, now Apelele Fassi. So I was there at a tough time, but I learned a lot. Loved Durban, my wife and I miss it so much. But lessons were learned, mistakes were made, and now I'm better for it. 2018, I went to the Blitzbokke, played 2 tournaments for the Blitzbokke. It was an incredible experience. Learned what training hard really means. And got to travel some amazing places. Wonderful culture in that team as well. And also then eventually I signed here at the Cheetahs, and now we're here.
That's amazing. I should say, I mean, your career is just been flourishing, and your CV is just amazing. Just hearing everything that you said, it's not easy to be where you are right now. And with everything that you've said, I just want to find out from your point of view what you think it is that a player needs to do to make it as a pro. And then once you've made it as a pro, what is it that you need to do to stay a pro? Because we've seen some people that have made it and they didn't last long, or some people that were on the road to making it but they didn't end up making it there. So what do you think?
Man, I think it's such a difficult thing. everyone doesn't start at the same place. And then the best way I can see it is, let's say, so I'm from Cape Town. I'm now living in Bloemfontein. If you looked at the map of South Africa, Cape Town, Bloem, there is a straight line from Cape Town to Bloem, but there's also a scenic route if you go along the N2, along the coast. There's also a long dry route if you go up to Northern Cape, and then you kind of make your way back. And my feeling is just that everyone must be willing to find their own path, write their own story, learn their own lessons, and become better by it. Some guys, I mentioned a good friend of mine, we roomed together for 2.5 years, Cohen Bosch. He's one of the fortunate few. He played schoolboy rugby 1 year, and the very next year he got his Super Rugby debut. The very next year he became a Springbok.
That doesn't happen.
It's not everyone that happens to. And if you get out of bed as a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, and you think, man, by the time I'm 19, I can have 2 caps for the Boks, whatever, then you're probably on a road to disaster, because he's the exception to the rule. For me, if I had to give advice, I would say to young schoolboys or whatever coming through, their goal should be to go to university and study and play varsity cup. It's the best way to get exposure and play high-level rugby in South Africa. That's my belief. That's how I got here. That's how you got here.
Exactly.
And then, if worse comes to worse, after 3 years you don't make it to professional rugby, at least you leave the rugby environment with a degree. That for me is how you do it, because not only does playing rugby and studying teach you discipline and determination, it also it forces you into living a balanced life. Man, if folks are just playing rugby at 19, they think they living in movies and stuff where they're just spending dollar bills, going out partying.
True.
And that
it doesn't last.
It doesn't last, and that's no way to become a professional. So
no, that is true.
Yeah, my advice: get a contract at university and study and play. And if you happen to break through, then great, then go for it.
Those are some wise words. I think the listeners are really going to appreciate that, because that is true, everything that you're saying. I mean, sometimes people forget that there are things such as injuries, and once you get an injury, and if you don't have a degree or education behind your back, you can find yourself in no man's land, so I really appreciate those wise words from you. Before the season was stopped because of the corona pandemic, you were on fire, man. We played the same position, and I just have to say, you are someone that I look up to. You were just blazing, scoring tries, doing everything. You were the complete playmaker. And then the coronavirus came, it stopped everything. There's light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, we're back to training now, and the Currie Cup might start soon. What is your motivation going into the Currie Cup that's coming, and the Pro 14 that might start whenever we find out whenever it's going to start?
Yeah, man, first off, thank you. I appreciate that. Coming from, like you say, position to position. I appreciate that a lot. It was good. It feels like the Cheetahs were busy turning a leaf. We're still there. I think just mentally, guys are now ready to win. They're not just there to compete anymore. I think that's what perhaps started that turn of form for many of us. I was fortunate to be on the try scoring end of many other guys' line breaks, and then I was just there, right place, right time. But my answer for how do I think why did I play so well initially, and what my motivation is now moving forward is the same. It's that, as I mentioned, my time at the Sharks, bro, I was there for 3.5 years, 4 seasons, and I only played 14 Super Rugby games. That's a lot. If you'd have told me that before my career, I would have taken it. But a guy like Apulele Fassi, for instance, played his first Super Rugby season last year, and he's already got more caps than me. He's got 23, I think.
That is a lot.
In 2 years. And I played 4 years, and I've got 13. So the point is just that I was there, and it was difficult times for me, week in, week out. I'm disappointed I'm not making a team. And then I came to the Cheetahs, and for no apparent reason, the coaches here and the staff here backed me. And I had to repay that confidence they have in me by playing well. That's the first thing. The second is, I can only play rugby for that long. My wife and I are married now for about 2 years now. In 2 weeks, we'll be married for 2 years. And the thing is, man, if all the ups and downs I go through, she's with me there all the way. And how can I repay all of the sacrifices she makes? I need to play well so that we are in a position where we not only can take care of ourselves, but the future kids that we plan to have, our parents, my parents, her family. We have a role to play in all of these people's lives. And for me, it's easy if I score a few tries on the weekend. 1,000 people will tap my back and say, well done. Yeah. But nobody cares about my wife sitting at home.
That is true.
So I need to repay my wife's sacrifices by playing well, man. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
3 years is a long time to be depressed. And I won't say depressed, but it's a long time to be in a hole.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I have to repay it.
That is true. And I mean, I touched on the coronavirus. I just want to know what the influence it's had on you in the time that we weren't training and playing. What's the influence that it's had on you? I mean, we might get back to playing now, but I don't think we're going to have any fans or people supporting. What's that going to do to your game?
I think first off, it's going to force us to rethink everything. In South Africa, the South African rugby spectrum is going to be turned on its head within the next few weeks, because competitions are being shifted and money and players are moving. So when it's like that, then it's always something's bound to happen. True. Somebody's bound to draw the short end of the stick here. So I guess we'll have to take whatever comes our way when it comes. But as far as Corona, for me, it was a good time for me to invest in my body. I was playing quite a lot before. I played 13 from 13 games, not complaining at all. But I played 80 minutes in all of them but one. So I only missed 9 minutes out of 13 games. And it was a lot for my ankles in particular. My ankles and my calves were giving me trouble. So I could spend time doing rehab and prehab, which was great. I could spend most of the days with my wife, which some days became a lot. We've never spent that much time together.
She doesn't watch this.
Hey man, it's the truth. So we got to learn new things about one another as well, you know. And it also gave us time to just invest and make phone calls we've been putting off for months and days and years. And so it was, for me, I think there was a lot happening across the world and people were dying, and it's really, really bad. And you don't want to say there was a silver lining or whatever, but if we had to take any good from it, it was that there was so much time that we could allocate to things that otherwise are put on the back burner normally.
True.
My academics as well. I'm studying as well, so it was great for me to be able to pour all of that time into my academics again, into my relationship with not only my wife and our family, but also just for us to sit down and plan what the future holds for us. So
that's awesome, man. That's some positive stuff. And I hear you mentioning your wife. Tell us more about your marriage life and how long have you been with your wife and where did you guys meet? And
all right, so
how's everything going?
So as I mentioned, I studied in Poch. My wife and I met. She was in one ladies res and I was in a male res, and we had for the year you marry a female res and a male res marries up, and you do all of the activities moving forward. So I was on the house committee of ours and she was on the house committee of theirs, and we were forced to work together basically. And we kind of hit it off. She had a best friend, or still has a best friend, and I have a best friend, and the four of us just got along really well. And the two of us started dating probably 5 months into our supposedly working relationship. And then we kind of stuck it out. So it's been a while. This year we'll be together 6 years. 6 years this year.
Wow.
And we've been married. We got married on the 18th of August 2018. So as I say, in two weeks from now, it'll be 2 years, man. And
that's amazing.
You learn a lot about one another. You learn a lot about yourself in marriage. But it truly is worth the wait. It truly is everything that I believe God ordained it to be, man. It's amazing. So
that's great to hear. I mean, do you have something planned for the 2-year anniversary, or
man, Bloom is just bubbling over with things to do on your anniversary. So no, I don't know. We'll figure something out. But the standard's been set with years gone by now. So hopefully I can just keep incrementally climbing the ladder, because what you don't want is to, on your 2nd year anniversary, shoot the lights out. And then you can't better it for the rest of your life, you know.
I hear you. And if you weren't playing rugby, what would you be doing right now?
I don't know, man.
Have you ever thought about that? I mean,
I don't know. I'm trying obviously to put things in place for when rugby's done as well. So I guess the best answer I can give you is that I'm hoping to, when I'm done with rugby, I never have to work, in inverted commas, work a day in my life. I hope I have enough fingers in enough pies that I'm getting like kind of passive income from all over, and that I'm okay to get up and work if I want. rather than work 9 to 5 for a boss.
Yeah.
But I'm currently studying law, and I have a BCom degree as well. So
That's awesome.
I'm hoping that that'll come through and that I can stick it out and get the degree. Yeah, man, I don't know. I just have a passion to speak to people like me. If I think of myself 10, 15 years ago, what do I wish? What conversation do I wish I had then to have potentially changed the course of my life?
Yeah.
I grew up with kids in the neighborhood that I live in, or where my parents live in, sorry. And just where they are now and where I am now is not the same, but we started at the same place. And my personal feeling is I was fortunate. I went to good schools and I could interact with a kid whose dad's a doctor or whose dad's an engineer, and that kid has a different view and perspective of life than the kids that live in and around where I grew up. So, man, I just hope that I can use the various platforms that I have now, that I'm privileged to have now, and speak into people's lives and potentially change one person's life. Then I think I've done my part. So yeah, man, if I have to be a lawyer in the end to pay the bills, I'ma do it. But
that's not a bad option.
No, it's not bad.
With that being said, what advice could you give up-and-coming rugby players that look up to you? Yourself, maybe if you were the young version of yourself, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, the South African rugby runs on big boys that can carry the ball well, that make big tackles. Yeah. I'm not like that. I'm just not, right from the start, I'm not built like that. So my advice would be to find what it is that makes you unique and work really hard at that.
Yeah.
And back yourself. For a long time, I was so scared of making mistakes that I ended up doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I would really just encourage people, find something that makes you better than them. Find something that instills fear in your opponent's eyes, and then you keep going with that one thing.
All right, man. Thank you so much. That is some great advice. I just want to thank you once again for joining me on my podcast. This is the first episode, and hopefully people get to enjoy it and learn more about you and get into depth about who you really are. Hopefully we can have you again. And I just want to thank Career Magazine for hosting this and helping us achieve our dreams.
Sure, man. No way. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Cheers.